Have with us Dr. Steve Austin. Dr. Austin, today we're going to talk about Mount St. Helens, and the subtitle I love, Explosive Evidence for Creation.
Well, hello, Dr. Austin. It seems it's time to begin our magical, wondrous learning adventure.
In fact, you're probably one of the foremost authorities on what happened at Mount St. Helens and the after effects of that to the environment. Is that fair to say?
I love to talk to people about Mount St. Helens and love to go there.
That's a strange answer to that question. I mean, by that standards, consider me an expert on a hot bath filled with a naked redhead giving gifts of chocolate and cake. I mean, let's talk about that. But anyway, let's have a little look at what Dr. Austin is really known for. Dr. Steve Austin got his PhD in geology from Pennsylvania State University before something went horribly wrong. Now he works as a senior research scientist at the Institute of Creation Research. Unfortunately, this doesn't seem to be a very productive post. A quick search on Google Scholar brings up some scathing rebuttals of his work. I actually had to venture into the ICR website in order to track down a glimpse of this masterpiece. In this study, Dr. Austin takes 10-year-old samples from the eruption of Mount St. Helens and then proceeds to submit them to potassium-argon dating tests, which show them to be between about 60,000 to 2 million years old, which is obviously incorrect. Dr. Austin has a legitimate background in geology, and so I have no doubt that he would have known that potassium-argon dating has a minimum age at which it becomes accurate to use, some recommending that it shouldn't be used on anything under 100,000 years old. Now, potassium is a common element in many rocks. This here is a rock. Most rocks in my area are this shaped. It's a silly place. Now, potassium decays to argon at a steady rate, but in liquid rock, the argon is able to escape as a gas into the atmosphere. When the rock solidifies, however, the crystalline structure prevents this, and so the argon builds up at a steady rate. The decay rate is always the same from potassium to argon, and so we can use the amount of argon that has built up in the rock to accurately measure the age of the rock, or so it would seem. There is a very small trace amount of argon that doesn't manage to escape the rock before it cools. Initially, this entrained argon would be 100% of the sample. No matter how small this sample is, this would produce an inaccurate result. The decay rate of potassium to argon is in the billions of years, so even the slightest trace of this entrained argon is going to produce the results that Dr. Austin has found so astounding. Now, as the rock ages, this trace of entrained argon is going to proportionally weaker against the growing amount of argon that is produced by the usual buildup of argon within the rock. So, of course, the results showed that potassium-argon cannot be trusted to date the Mount St. Helens flow, but Dr. Austin knew that, and used it nonetheless to forward his agenda of young Earth voodoo via the bizarre method of abandoning his education. And so here we have Dr. Austin, and his next set of marvellous observations about his favourite mountain.
The mud flow came down out of the crater right through this area right here, ponded right in this area, then it overtopped, came down this spillway and went down to the ocean. This giant mud flow had enough power to overtop that barrier, and as it overtopped the barrier, it cut back through and made, right in that little area there, here it is, 140-foot cliff, small stream flowing through that canyon. Do you think that small stream eroded that big, wide canyon one sand grain at a time?
I don't think so.
Okay, it might appear that way.
It might look that way, Dr. Austin. In fact, I had my suspicions that it happened like this. course the stream didn't make the canyon, and it's doubly absurd for you to say so, because you've already described what did. This was a volcanic mudflow carving its way through ash and volcanic debris, a far cry from the solid bedrock that makes up the Grand Canyon. Look, here's a canyon with a stream running through it. The stream didn't create the canyon, so I guess that proves that water can't erode rock, and that all canyons are the result of volcanic mudslides. Well, Dr. Austin, I would love for you to point out all of the volcanoes that must line the Grand Canyon in order for this to be any less than hilarious, or to explain the vast quantity of eroded material carried to the ocean by the Colorado River every day. It seems it's going to be a lot harder to help you remember your education than I thought. But for now, I got some ice cream to go place on my buttocks. Toodles for now.